What's cracking, everybody's XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video, we're taking a look at the Willpower Cup team that absolutely shredded the meta on day one. This team is definitely a climbing team, and I can certainly see it doing very well for the duration of this cup. We're going to be taking a look at what I think is probably the best Pokemon in this cup, which is going to be the Air Slash. We're going to update it live. That's a Mandibuzz. We're doing Mandibuzz with Air Slash, not a Zoomerl. We forgot to update that name. That's all good. We had Mandibuzz with Air Slash, and I feel like this is probably the most neutral Pokemon in this meta, able to take so many things head-on without really having to worry about taking too much damage in return because of just how bulky it is. Now, I personally wanted to try my new Pawniard. I just built it. I caught it last year during GoFest, and I just wanted to give it a shot. But if you don't have a Pawniard, worry not. You could use a Claydol, you could use Drapion, you could use Skuntank, you could use any essence of things. The whole point of this team is we are using a safe swap Dark Poison and Qwilfish to draw out the opponent's Mud Slapper, i.e. their Claydol, to allow the Pawniard or other Pokemon to sweep. So like something like I said, Drapion, Skuntank, other Hisuian Qwilfish, things like that could work very well with this team. And in doing so, we went on a 12-3 rip with this team in this meta. 3 straight 4-1 sets. So let's get into these games here and check out this team in action here in the Willpower Cup. Getting into the first games, we've got a dominant lead here, Mandibuzz into Claydol. Now, most Claydols are running Ice Beam, but that really doesn't worry. Mandibuzz doesn't worry about Ice Beam. It takes 3 Ice Beams to knock out a Mandibuzz, 2 if there's a little bit of chip damage. But opponent comes in with a safe swap of Cresselia, and I'm immediately sticking my Pawniard on this thing. I don't want to put my Qwilfish on it because Qwilfish does not have any dark type coverage, so it makes it a little bit more tricky to deal with that matchup. The opponent going for a Grass Knot here, perhaps not realizing that the Moonblast is neutral into the Steel Dark typing. Now, we did play these games. We're in the 25 to 2600 ELO range, so that's just about where these were played. So if you're in that ELO bracket, you may be able to make use of this team as well. Pawniard also getting Night Slashes off into Claydols. If you can leave it with energy, they do a lot of damage and add up if you can get 1 or 2 off. And really the only thing you need to make sure of when you see a Claydol lead is that you get switch advantage with whatever you bring in. Now, some people are like, Qwilfish isn't great. The reason I chose Qwilfish is because it has Ice Beam. Giving it access to something that can hit a Mandibuzz for super effective allows you to flip that matchup in certain cases with Qwilfish, whereas other Dark Poisons may have a slightly harder time to do that. But I also like the pacing on Qwilfish for Aqua Tail. So if I was to pick something that's not Pawniard or Qwilfish, I would probably at least have a Drapion in here to have that very quick pacing to the Aqua Tail. The opponent's going to come back in with their Claydol, and I'm just like, I'm going to let this go. They have now provided me an opportunity to just put my Mandibuzz right on this Claydol, and I need to just Aerial Ace the Claydol and then Aerial Ace or Air Slash down the Skuntank, and that's going to be a good first game here. Well played to this opponent, and this team is just, I'm telling y'all, like, there's just so many people running something like double Dark Poison. Like, you could do Claydol over the Pawniard as well if you wanted, because you can just easily punish Dark Poisons in the back and do very well in this cup. Opponent safe switches into a Mandibuzz, and because my their Mandibuzz, and any Mandibuzz for that matter, is completely walled by Pawniard, I'm going to go straight into the Pawniard here to be able to keep it away from the Claydol as well. Also, I could bring in Qwilfish here, but I would prefer to try to play this matchup out so that I can get Pawniard with some energy to hit the Claydol with a Night Slash when coming back in. Now, I've been historically pretty awful at counting fast moves lately, so I think in this game I actually overfarm. I should have thrown a move here, I think. I made a misplay here by not throwing, because now I'm forced to give up a shield in order to win this matchup, but I am able to overfarm by quite a bit. But the farm would have been more efficient if I had thrown right before they had. I just don't know if I would have been able to get to that X-Scissor in time. But down a shield doesn't matter. We do get switch advantage, being able to keep our Mandibuzz on this Claydol, which is really the name of the game here. When you see a Claydol lead with your Mandibuzz, you just need to make sure that even though it has Ice Beam, you want to keep Mandibuzz lined onto this thing, because look at how much damage the Air Slashes versus the Mud Slaps. The Mud Slaps don't do anything, and we're going to see an Ice Beam. The opponent did stay in here to get this Ice Beam off, giving Mandibuzz quite a bit of energy, but now they come in with a Guzzlord. My opponent makes a very good call here, safe swapping a Mandibuzz in order to draw out an answer to this Guzzlord, and unfortunately, I just don't have an answer to the Guzzlord now. So I could try to Ice Beam with the Quillfish, but it takes a little bit longer than I'm I care to deal with to get to that Ice Beam. So I'm staying in for these Aerial Aces, and I'm hoping that maybe I can get this thing into a range where an Aqua Tail or Poison Stings would knock out. They're kind of low at this point. Maybe I should have built up. I'm not sure at this point. What I really need to do here is I need to try and get these shields or fast move down or something. It's becoming a very, very harrowing experience here to try and win this game. Opponent's going to start putting up their shields. Quillfish should be able to get to another Aqua Tail here before the opponent can Mud Slap down. We do survive on just a couple of HP, and then Mandibuzz comes in here. But I'm like, if they have 2 Ice Beams, I'm pretty sure I just lose. So I'm just going to come in Mandibuzz, and I'm going to let this go, because if they Ice Beam me anyway, they have 2. But the opponent goes for a Scorching Sands, and let this be a lesson to anyone don't ever throw double resisted damage to bait, because I literally gave that game up. I'm like, I'm losing this game, but the opponent could have taken that game from me and handed me a win by going for the Scorching Sands. Always go for the Ice Beam here, and that's going to be a good game. Well played. Just going for double resisted bait, it almost never pays off. We get another Claydol in the lead. I'm telling you, we saw so many Claydols in the lead, and I'm going to be able to go for some Air Slashes and look to try and catch a move on Pawniard. The Fury Cutters are going to really shred through this Guzzlord, and the X-Scissor would do a ton of damage. Even though it's not same type attack bonus from Pawniard, it would still threaten to do a ton of damage, and I can win the 0 shield scenario. I can basically win any even shield scenario I like here. Because of the pacing with Fury Cutter into these X-Scissors. Now, my opponent is going for more energy, and they do decide to shield the first one. If they shield the second one, I think I'm going to be completely okay with going ahead and shielding again twice if I have to, in order to prevent them from getting switch advantage. Because if they're going to fight for switch advantage, that means that whatever they have in the back is probably a really dominant answer to my Mandibuzz, and I would much, much rather not have that alignment happen. But the opponent makes a forced switch, hoping to catch a move on their Claydol, but I'm going to go ahead and save my energy on my Pawniard and go straight into the Mandibuzz to counter this switch. And the opponent at this point is just, I don't know if they're in shambles, but they're not doing very well. Unfortunately, they're going for the Scorching Sands into my Mandibuzz. Again, I don't, maybe they forgot to TM away. See, now this trainer, I don't know if they have Ice Beam. The previous trainer, I knew they had Ice Beam. They may have just have Shadow Ball on the Claydol, which my Claydol, first couple of games that I played it today, had Shadow Ball, and I forgot to TM it away. Or some people just don't have TMs, but they have a Gothitelle in the back, and I'm like, what is this doing here? But it does have Charm, and Charm isn't it's a reasonable thing to use in this cup. But non-stab Charm just is a little bit underwhelming, but we're going to be able to combo play into this Pawniard, get the X-Scissor off against the Psychic-type Gothitelle, and take it out, and that's going to be a good game here. Well played to the opponent. Also, for those of you who aren't aware, Gardevoir is now unbanned in this cup. It was previously banned up until 10 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday. So it is now unbanned by the time you're seeing this video. So during these battles, Gardevoir was not allowed in this cup, which is why you aren't seeing it. But you may start seeing it now that you might play when this video is out. So we're going to stay in here and go for the Aerial Ace. I would like to try to get this thing low. Unfortunately, I really don't have any safe things to bring. This Quillfish's damage is all pretty much resisted here. And the opponent's going to bring in a Drapion in order to counter swap into my Quillfish. So I am ahead on energy. I can get a couple of Aqua Tails if the opponent doesn't throw right away, and they do. And at this point, I think I'm just going to have to let this go and try to trust in my Pawniard to win this late game. So I'm going to come in with Mandibuzz, and I'm just going to absorb energy on it, which is what it's really good at doing, is being a meat shield and having some steady damage output with Air Slash. There's a lot of things in this meta that really don't resist the Air Slash, and the things that do, we have pretty good play into. The Aerial Ace is not going to do a ton of damage, but it would certainly do more than the resist. And I am running Foul Play over Dark Pulse here, because when you're playing with Air Slash, the pacing is significantly worse than with Snarl because it's lower energy generation. So I much prefer to use Foul Play in that situation. But we're going to be able to fully farm down the opponent coming in with a Greninja, and I'm hoping I can get the farm down, but they have 2 short of the move instead of 3 like I hoped. They're going for the Hydro Cannon, and they come in with a Cresselia, and now I feel like I have a chance. The opponent is completely weak to this Pawniard. Pawniard's going to be able to throw Night Slash after Night Slash. I will try to make a catch on my Mandibuzz here. So we are going to be able to just keep fire off these Night Slashes. No boosts, unfortunately. I think I saw like one Night Slash boost all night with this team. Opponent goes for a Grass Knot Bait. Kind of expected, but also, you know, I can't risk taking a Moonblast from this HP. I don't think so. We're going to have to just go for the shield safely and try to get the Night Slash. I'm expecting the opponent to try to make a catch of their own, but unfortunately, they catch my catch, and I don't get the swap out. But we're going to be able to go for the foul play, and this should take the shield, and we should be able to come in now with the Pawniard, with the move loaded, and immediately go for the game-winning charge move. The opponent also throwing their energy, so they can never have a Grass Knot plus a Moonblast, I find out. So we should be able to win this game, but the opponent goes for a charge move, and in the moment, I'm thinking, what the heck? I had the move loaded. We got the one-turn lag, but the Grass Knot's not enough, and thankfully, the game gives us our victory that we so rightly deserve, even though the game tried to snatch it from us by not allowing us to go for the charge move while played to the opponent. We're getting into the next game here. We got another Drapion on the lead, taking away from the Claydol leads, getting a little bit more difficult now as we get further into the games here. Going for the opponent, going for a move here on 7. Very nice timing by them. Going for the Crunch. I'm assuming that I really don't know why they would go for Crunch here. They do get the debuff, which is nice. That was really the only thing that they could have hoped for in this matchup, so they do get it. Now that I'm going to go into my Quillfish and try to go for an Aqua Tail, I'm thinking he might even have Sludge Bomb. Some Drapions do have Sludge Bomb in this cup, but we're going to go for the Aqua Tail. The opponent now comes in with a Mandibuzz, and this is why I'm running the Ice Beam. I want to be able to hit these Mandibuzz out of the sky. Ice Beam. The opponent is also on Snarl, so they do have better fast charge move. They have better pacing to their charge moves. However, they will have less fast move pressure in general. So I'm going to be going for the Aqua Tail here on good timing. We're one shy of the Ice. Not everybody knows Ice Beam counts here, but the opponent is either willing to give up their Mandibuzz, or they decide to they just know the counts, right? So I'm gonna go for another Aqua Tail here. Opponent does shield this one, and I'm gonna come right in with my Mandibuzz and attempt to catch the energy and also just try to redirect, right? Because Quillfish, I feel like, is gonna, be fine, and the opponent, like, the only thing that they could have at this point is a Charmer. And they do have the Sludge Bomb. We are going to go for an Aerial Ace here. I don't want to risk taking another charge move. I just want to be able to see what they have in the back. And up a shield, I feel like we're going to be solid here. But the opponent now comes in with a Rapidash. And I'm like, okay, that is not what I want. We're going to go for the foul play here to do a little bit more damage with the last charge move remaining. The opponent decides not to shield it. So now it's going to come down to Pawniard and Quillfish. Quillfish is going to come in, and I'm just going to have it absorb the energy here. And then we're going to go for the sweep with the Pawniard, just make sure they don't make a catch. But the opponent throws one Fairy Wind, and I'm like, this has to be a Body Slam, right? Nope, that is a Mega Horn, and that does a ton of damage. And I realize at this point that I have just lost myself this game, unfortunately, just making dumb plays. I should have shielded that no matter what, but good game to the opponent, taking advantage of that. Picking up a 4-1, getting into the next game here. We got a Mandibuzz mirror in this next match, and what I like to do with these mirror leads is I actually like to just stay in, go for an Aerial Ace, do some chip damage here, and then at some point get into Quillfish. Usually it's after the opponent throws a move here, so I'll stay in. Sometimes they'll go right away, sometimes they'll build up to 2, like this trainer's building up to 2, and I think that's a pretty solid strategy if you want to just build up to 2, but I only would really ever build up to 2 if I plan on playing this out. So by the fact that the opponent is planning on playing this mirror out, it may mean that they have something in the back that is weak to the Mandibuzz. So I'm going to go ahead and get into my Quillfish here and attempt to draw it out and hope that maybe I can, get my Pawniard to do some sweeping. If they have a Claydol in the back, I have to draw it out. But the opponent has their own Hisuian Quillfish, so definitely not a Claydol. Maybe they were expecting me to try to draw out the Claydol, or they just don't have one. But I'm going to go for this Ice Beam here, hoping that the opponent maybe thinks this is another Aqua Tail. What this will do is it'll allow me to nearly KO the opponent's Quillfish. And unfortunately, not going to be quite enough here. We have to let the Aqua Tail go. I'm not willing to give up a shield to try to win switch here because I really don't think I need it. If the opponent's best answer to my Quillfish was their own Quillfish, it may mean that they have dark poisons of their own. So I think that my Pawniard is going to do very good here. I'm going to bring it in order to absorb the energy that the opponent's Mandibuzz has stored, because it's all resistant here. And I can leave Mandibuzz with almost more than half of its HP intact to be able to do some sweeping in the back of it. Fortunately for me, I miscount again on the Air Slash, and the opponent's able to get off an Aerial Ace for the road here, but I'm going to try to overfarm, go for a Night Slash, and see if I can boost here. And no boost, unfortunately, here for me, just as I remember, but the opponent does have the Drapion in the back, so Mandibuzz is looking pretty solid here as well. I just need to get this thing down into a range where the either the X-Scissor or the Aerial Ace would knock out. The opponent lets the first X-Scissor go, so I'm going to start baiting with Night Slashes and trying to get a boost. I do know that I can live an Aqua Tail from this range, but I need to try and get the shield, and we're hoping that the opponent throws a Crunch here. So because we double resist the Poison Stings, we're going to be able to live one Poison Sting and get a Night Slash in, and then I'm going to immediately switch into my Mandibuzz, which easily gets to an Aerial Ace at this point in the game. I can let this move go, even if it's a Sludge Bomb. I have to imagine they have Sludge Bomb if they went for Crunch against my Pawniard. There we go. So we're going to shield up this move. This is the game-winning Aerial Ace, and this is just going to take out the opponent's straight. And this game is going to be well played to the opponent. Mandibuzz just being very reliable in this meta is so nice. Getting into the next game, we got Mandibuzz against a Shadow Annihilate. I tried a little bit of Shadow Annihilate here in the Willpower Cup. It's pretty interesting, but the nice saving grace for us here is that we have the Air Slash in order to do a lot of fast move pressure into this Annihilate, and I have to keep my backline away from this thing. Now my opponent comes in with a Mandibuzz, and I have the perfect answer in my yard here, which I'll bring in. Now, really what I need to do here is I either need to win this matchup and keep Mandibuzz from, like, I don't want to give the Annihilate too much farm, so I'm going to try to overload on energy to try to at least make sure that if the opponent does at some point swap back in the Annihilate, which is very likely to do because of how much those counters will do, they might try to snipe my Pawniard later in the matchup. I want to try to at least make sure that I have a move close to ready by the time that might happen. Otherwise, I just need to make sure that Mandibuzz is able to stay on the Annihilate and able to take care of it. Quillfish could land an Aqua Tail later in the game if it needs to, so I can keep that in mind. Opponent going for the Dark Pulse, that will knock out my Pawniard, and that's a little bit uncomfortable, but the opponent makes an interesting move here and swaps back in the Annihilate for some reason. And I'm really not sure why they would do this, but I'm fine with it, because obviously having a Hisuian Quillfish in the back, I would prefer to see this on the Mandibuzz anyway. So at this point, the opponent's going to go for a Rage Fist bait, but I know that I can just farm down. The counters are doing quite a bit of damage to Mandibuzz, but they're totally fine, and they do have their own Mandibuzz and something else in the back. We're going to go for this Aerial Ace, trying to take out the Mandibuzz. The opponent going to go for another Snarl. We're going to be able to take out with the Poison Stings. The opponent has a Mew in the back, some spice in this meta. I don't really expect to see a whole lot of Mew, and I have respect for the people that are trying to run it, because it's objectively bad in this meta, filled with Mandibuzz and dark poisons and things that just really are hostile into the cute little Mew here. But Wild Charge is going to do a lot of damage, but the opponent needs multiple moves in order to knock us out. So we're going to be able to take that Wild Charge and fire back the Ice Beam. And I fired the Ice Beam off at first because I didn't feel like it was a good bait. But well played to the opponent there. Getting into the next game, we got Mandibuzz on the lead versus another Mew. And I'm like, okay, well, 1 was interesting, 2 is certainly a trend, so let's see where this goes. The opponent is going to stay in. I'm expecting him to go for back-to-back Wild Charges or something. And a Foul Play would do a significant amount of damage. So I'm just going to go for an Aerial Ace here, hoping that they might shield, and they do. So for me, I'm like, they're likely to throw the Wild Charge first if they have it, but they have Dazzling Gleam. Might just be a case of opponent doesn't have any TMs left, or they just wanted to run Gleam to hit those dark types where it hurts. But Pawniard's going to be able to come in and counter swap into the Guzzlord, one of the hardest answers to Guzzlord in this whole meta aside from Fairies. And we're going to be able to go for the X-Scissor. The opponent, if they do decide to shield this for some reason, is going to have a very bad time trying to get through Pawniard. And even if they have a move, which they do on 1 HP, I don't need to shield this. I will live just narrowly to be able to get rid of this Guzzlord. And the opponent's going to come back in with the Mew. And I'm going to go for Night Slashes here because they're a little bit less energy and they would do quite a bit of damage to the Mew. Opponent's going to let that go. Mew is going to go down to these Air Slashes here, unable to get to another charge move. And the opponent has a Toxicroak in the back and absolutely off the wall team here from the opponent, but Toxicroak is not going to be able to stand up to the might of this Mandibuzz, and that's going to be getting to the next game. I don't know where the spice came from, but somebody took that cabinet, opened it up, and just let everything out of it. We're going to have a Duosion in the lead with, I'm assuming this thing just has, I know it has hidden power and nuke moves. I don't know what its moveset is, but I'm going to try to be cautious of it. Opponent does safe swap and annihilate, and one thing that I'm thinking here, and I'm very careful of, is they might have a Primeape in the back, which would be very uncomfortable if they're running double counters here. Opponent does throw on alignment here, allowing me to get a free Air Slash through, and Raid Fist is going to do quite a bit, but I'm like, you know, if the opponent has Duosion, I'm just going to put my Pawniard on it and just see what happens. Opponent decides not to double shield. They're going to have a Claydol in the back. And yeah, for Trainer as Claydol in the back, that was a very strange way to play this matchup out, because normally if you have something like Claydol in the back that's weak, the Mandibuzz, you will usually want to keep your lead in order to get rid of the Mandibuzz, or try to, and free up the Claydol. But fortunately for the opponent, I didn't really have an answer for the Annihilate, and so I had to use up my Mandibuzz on it. But now we have Pawniard, and I think that this will be enough for me to be able to handle this game. Pawniard has enough HP to deal with the opponent's Claydol, and they do decide to just no-shield the Duosion, and the Claydol is going to go down to a couple. Next game's up, we got a Hatterene in the lead, and this is not good for me. This thing has Charm, and I know it, and they're going to go into a Claydol, and I'm just like, man, you really just had to completely hard counter me after I've had what a run I've had, and now we're just, yeah, here comes the hard counter. So the opponent's going to have this Claydol, they're going to Mud Slap all the way down, and I'm just like, man, I really hope that Pawniard can clutch up in the back, because if it can't, well, it is what it is. Can't win them all, but Mandibuzz is going to be able to come in and absorb the energy of this Claydol, even though it's probably going to get to 2 Ice Beams, honestly, if not at least 1, if not 2. But thankfully, the opponent not able to get to another Ice Beam before going down, immediately switching into the Pawniard. The opponent has an Alolan Raticate in the back, which is an interesting pick, and I think that I might have a chance now, because I do resist all the energy from this thing. But the other thing I have to keep in mind is that if I'm going to try to beat that Hatterene, I have to shield moves here, because I need to save enough HP to be able to deal with the Hatterene's charms. So I'm going to continuously go for X Scissors, going for that super effective damage. I don't want to risk not getting like that. If I had gone for Night Slash there, that would have been catastrophic, but unfortunately for me, the opponent is able to get to another charge move, and I'm forced to shield it. And now I don't have a shield for anything else that the opponent might throw at me. I'm also unable to get to 2 moves here, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to go for an X Scissor, get the shield, and I need to hope that Mandibuzz gets to a move before it gets down, but we're able to get to the Aerial Ace. This is enough. I should have probably gone for the Foul Play. I think Foul Play does slightly more damage here, and if it doesn't, I might be mistaken, but going for the Aerial Ace, because I was kind of hoping to be able to get to 2 moves. If I'd gone for Foul Play, I might have been able to win, but it would have been such a small amount of difference in damage that it still might have been 3 Air Slashes to knock out from that range. And at that point, I'm still going to lose. Unfortunately, the opponent is able to leave their Raticate with 1 HP in the back to take that win, but overall, this team was incredibly strong. I played it for 3 sets, and I wanted to play it for more, but I was like, I'm going to go ahead and just try something else, and I ended up, you know, playing silly stuff on stream now. So, but this team overall does very, very well. I highly recommend it to anyone trying to climb in this meta. It's a very strong team for this cup. And let me know in the comments if you guys have any success with it, or other teams. I'm interested to see what other people are running. Hopefully you guys enjoy the Willpower Cup or Ultra League, and if not, then have a good week off, because if you don't like the cups, don't force yourself to play. That's going to do it for me for today's video, guys. Thank you very much. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.